Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tim Tor coming at you again, and today is Thursday, May 4th, 2017, on this second leg of today's videos. And yesterday, we got to go to the Titanic Museum attraction in Branson, Missouri. And I must tell you that photographs were only allowed in just a few areas. So I have a total of 4 photos from this museum, and I am going to provide an enormous amount of audio that I obtained from not only the tour, but also this morning in my research. So I'm going to give you a lot of cool factoids and tidbits, and we'll get into it. Let's go. Now, the first thing that I want to point out is that the Titanic Museum attraction in Branson, in tandem with the Titanic Museum in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, both of them together represent the largest Titanic museum in the world. And Stephanie and I were fortunate enough back, I believe, in 2012 to see a traveling and touring Titanic Museum in Detroit, which also came to Cleveland, and it was spectacular. But this one was equally spectacular, maybe even better. I can tell you that the royal staircase that was in this museum was very nice because it was, a stationary product. So what you're looking at here is the real-life actual costumes, that were worn during the movie. They are on display at the Titanic Museum in Branson until June 11th, 2017. And then they will move on to the Pigeon Forge, Tennessee Museum, I believe, starting on June 17th or maybe June 11th. It's one of the two. So yes, these are the actual costumes. Now, like I said, I will get into some factoids and about the museum. So let's get into it. Now, first of all, there is actually an iceberg, or at least a sheet of ice, in the entryway to the museum. So you can check that out. That's cool. Now, the first room has a scaled model of the Titanic, and it took the builder at least 2 years to complete. So that's nice. Now, also, I believe the website for the museum, let's take a peek here. Titanic, I believe it's TitanicBranson.com. It is. It's TitanicBranson.com. So let's get back to it. My notes here. Now, the Titanic was owned by the White Star Line. And it had 2 sister ships, which were the RMS Olympic and the HMHS Britannic. Now, the Titanic was also an RMS. RMS stood for Royal Mail Ship. That's Royal Mail Ship. HMHS stands for His Majesty's Hospital Ship. Okay, His Majesty's Hospital Ship. So, to summarize, we have the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Britannic, and they were built in that order. The Olympic and the Titanic were built side by side, right next to each other, with the Olympic being completed in 1911 and the Titanic in 1912. The Olympic, of course, was the lead ship, but the Titanic and the Olympic were the same size, but the Titanic was slightly heavier than the Olympic. So, the Olympic was first a sailing vessel for commercial purposes. It was first commercial, but it was commissioned as a British warship in 1915. Then during the First World War. After the end of the First World War, it became a commercial vessel again and was used until 1935 came. Now, the the Britannic, uh, like I said, it was commissioned as a hospital ship, and that's exactly what it was used for during World War One. It began service in 1915 as a hospital ship, and it was actually sunk by an underwater mine on November 21st, 1916. At that time, there were 1,065 people on board, and 30 people perished. Okay, so like I said, that's the background of the three ships. Now, in addition to that, White Star Line was the owner. The builder was Harland and Wolff, and Harland and Wolff was located out of Belfast, Ireland. Okay, so that's a little background on the ships. Now, what else do we have for you? Also, want to point out that one of the rooms that you walk into, one of the first rooms you walk into, has a life jacket, or what was called a life vest, or life belt. And that was worn by Madeline Astor. Madeline Astor, because she was married to John Jacob Astor IV. And John Jacob Astor IV was the richest passenger on board the Titanic. At the time of his death, when the ship sank on April 15th, 1912, he was worth $87 million in 1912. And that's the equivalent of $2.16 billion in 2016 money, just last year. So over $2 billion 2016 money for John Jacob Astor IV. Now, he had divorced his wife 2 years prior to this date, because he had just recently married Madeline, who was 18 years old, and he was something like, 49. So in addition to that, the life vests, apparently there were 5 life vests recovered from the Titanic. And there's only one whose user is known. And that, in fact, was Madeline Astor. So the life vest that's on display at this Titanic Branson Museum was Madeline Astor's, and the value of it is over $1 million. Okay, so it is a very nice museum, and you guys got to check it out. Now, let's move on to the next shot, which is another great shot that reminds us of the film. And so I'll get into that and a lot more factoids to come. Okay, now what you're seeing here is a replica of the Heart of the Ocean necklace from the Titanic movie. Now, Le Coeur de la Mer is not a real thing as far as I know. It was just for the movie. But I am going to read you the bottom inscription from this photo. It says, "Diamonds are forever. We pay tribute to the Heart of the Ocean with our own Le Coeur de la Mer necklace, a one-of-a-kind heart-shaped blue sapphire necklace valued at $250,000 and created exclusively for the Titanic Museum attraction. Our necklace bends light with through 215 brilliant diamonds that total 16.19 carats, setting this work of art aglow. The details speak for themselves. 156 round and 60 pear-shaped stones, all set in 24-carat white gold. An 18.25-inch chain fashioned from diamonds, and the pièce de résistance, an exquisite 155-carat Chokrowski sapphire encircled by 58 round diamonds. So it certainly is a beautiful piece, folks, as you can see right here. Now, I want to get back to some more factoids about the Titanic and also what I found while I was there. The animals that were on board the Titanic, 10 dogs were brought onto the ship by passengers. 2 survived. Okay. Additionally, there were at least 4 chickens, live chickens, as pets, if you will, brought on by guests. At least one guest. Now, the ship also had an official cat whose name was Jenny. Jenny gave birth to kittens before the ship sailed, and she helped to keep the rat and mouse population on board the ship in check. Okay? Now, in this room that you're currently in with the Le Coeur de la Mer, a woman spoke about the 8 musicians or band members. There were 2 bands. The 8 musicians on board the Titanic. First of all, each musician had to know the full song catalog by heart, and that was a total of 352 songs. Okay? Now, I believe they had to know them by number, if at least by name, of course, but possibly by number. And the band members, their story that's on the movie The Titanic is one of the bravest of all of the ships, because they were allowed to try to save themselves as the ship went down, yet they refused. They played music to try to calm and soothe the souls of the passengers. And this quote I pulled from Wikipedia. It says, one second-class passenger said, "Many brave things were done that night, but none were more brave than those done by men playing minute after minute as the ship settled quietly lower and lower in the sea. The music they played served alike as their own immortal requiem and their right to be recalled on the scrolls of undying fame." Okay, so that is a fabulous quote about the 8 band members. And so I will get into the next shot, which I believe is the last shot, and I have plenty of more trivia for you. So like I said, this is the last shot, and you can see Captain Smith's outfit here, uniform from the movie. The movie won 11 Oscars, and you can also see Kate Winslet's life vest, which she autographed, and it looks like a butler's uniform as well. Now, further trivia that I have for you. Okay, how many people could fit onto the Titanic? 3,547. How many people were on board the ship when it went down? 2,223. Of those 2,223 total people, there were only 107 children, and most of those children were in third class. Now, I also want to point out that during the tour, for third class, I believe there was only 1 bathtub for men and 1 bathtub for women for all of third class, and that was like, at least 700 people, maybe like 1,400 people in third class, but I think 1,400 in third class. But anyway, okay, so that is capacity numbers for the Titanic. Now, I want to point out that the Titanic is an enormous vessel. You know, like there was a T-shirt that had all kinds of figures, like a school bus or a 747. A 747 was truly dwarfed by the Titanic, which is hard to imagine. But the Titanic, I believe, stretched for 4 city blocks. 4 city blocks. So the Titanic and its sister ship, the Olympic, were ginormous. I mean, so large that you almost can't imagine a ship that large. Now, um, the wreckage of the Titanic is closest to Newfoundland, Canada, which is southeastern Canada, and that's the landmass that it's closest to. Now, how far down is it? Okay, it sits on the ocean floor, of course, and it's about 12,500 feet below the surface. That's over 2 miles down. Now, as we conclude, how many lifeboats was the Titanic equipped to carry? 64. How many did it actually carry? 20, which is 1/3 less. That's probably less than 30% of capacity. Now, most lifeboats, they weren't all the same, but most lifeboats could handle 65 people per boat. How many people sailed on the first lifeboat? 28, which is less than half capacity. So, now, what percentage of passengers and crew survived? 31.6%. What was the maximum percentage of passengers and crew that could have survived with the 20 lifeboats on board? Maximum percentage that could have survived was 53.4. Now, had all 64 lifeboats been on there, 64 lifeboats times 65 people would have been more than what was needed to transport all people successfully to freedom and safety. So, that is telling. It's interesting, and it shows you that people's emotions, whether it be hatred or disgust or loathing, things like that, are always going to exist. Will always exist, and they existed at the most basic and primal of moments when people were dying, when the ship was going down. And I told Stephanie that the Titanic, the sinking of the Titanic, had to be such a difficult blow for the United States, the UK, Europe, many parts of Canada, many parts of the world, because this is a ship, with its sister, the Olympic, that was thought to be unsinkable. And such a ship, such a grandiose ship, so large that I say you can barely imagine it, to be sunk, and to be sunk by an iceberg, not by a missile, from a ship. Who would think that could be done? And in addition to that, on the tour, I found out that the guy who saw the iceberg had, I believe, 30 seconds. 30 seconds from when he spotted it. From when he rang it out, he spotted it, then he called it in, to when the ship hit the iceberg. I think it was 30 seconds. And the ship was warned about icebergs in the area apparently 6 times. before it struck the iceberg. So it knew that icebergs were in the area. The crew knew that. The captain knew that. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. So, this is a fabulous museum and a fabulous story. To go through this story, learn about the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Britannic, Madeline Astor and her life vest, the 8 band members who played so graciously and bravely, and then how many people were on board, what the maximum capacity was, and the lifeboat issue. Just so, it's a shame. It's a shame in that people would basically judge who would be allowed on the lifeboats, even if it was just women and children, to select or discriminate based on, social status, wealth status, who would be allowed on the boats is tragic. So, but it is a great museum to see. And whether you're in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, or Branson, Missouri, I recommend that you go to the Titanic Museum attraction. And, I hope I hope this video has helped you learn a little bit. And I thank you guys very much for watching and listening. And please subscribe to the channel. Leave any comments that you like. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what else you'd like to see. And share. And as always, I hope you guys have a great day today, which is Thursday, May 4th, 2017. Thanks very much, and have a great day. Bye-bye.